Hey, solos, welcome back. Dr. Nick here, wellness coach and wholeness advocate, and you are listening to Holistic Mental Health for Women Solopreneurs, where we prioritize our wellness so we can create sustainable impact without burning out. Last week, I shared a deeply personal story with you. My complete meltdown during my doctoral journey, where I realized I could not keep pushing through emotional overwhelm. It's a moment I continually return to in my mind as one of my markers for solidifying the need for the pause. It was such an emotional moment for me, one where I felt completely out of control and I was trying to head for the hills as fast as possible. What do we know that as? That's right, flight. I was in flight mode, trying to leave my program because I was emotionally flooded and overwhelmed. At the time, I didn't have language for what was happening inside of me. I just knew I was overwhelmed, I was emotionally flooded, I was mentally exhausted, and disconnected from myself. Some time has passed since then. I've experienced so much since that moment in 2020. I've grown and had some more training because if there's one thing I'm going to do, it's get a certification in something. Oh boy. Now I understand there was something deeper happening underneath all of that emotional turmoil. My nervous system was overwhelmed. And today, I want to talk to you about why that matters so much, especially for women trying to build meaningful businesses, visions, and overall lives. Because here's the truth nobody really tells us: you cannot sustainably build from dysregulation, right? You can build from dysregulation, but sustainable. That means long lasting and that you're going to last with it. You cannot build sustainably from a dysregulated place. It's not because you're lazy, not because you're incapable, but because your body was never designed to stay in survival mode long term while simultaneously carrying the weight of vision, leadership, creativity, and impact. Man, once I started understanding nervous system regulation, I began realizing how many women, especially women solopreneurs, are trying to build entire visions while emotionally flooded. This realization has the power to change everything for you when you understand it and are able to manage it in your life. So, ready to make some changes for you and your well being? I want to paint a picture for you. As you envision this picture, I want you to take notice of what feels familiar to you, what resonates with you. Okay, here we go. Imagine you're watching a scene from a movie showing a woman. She wakes up already feeling behind. Before her feet hit the floor, her brain is already running through the list. You know the one: the emails she didn't answer, the content she didn't post, the clients she needs to follow up with, the idea she still hasn't written down, let alone launched, the things she keeps saying she'll finally get to next week. The day hasn't even started. She's just rolling out of bed, still in her comfy PJs, and she already feels like she owes something to the day. She sits down to work, and instead of working, she starts scrolling. Not even for fun. It's more a compulsive need, checking what everyone else is doing, what they're launching, how polished they seem, how quickly they're growing. And within minutes, she's questioning herself again, questioning her voice, questioning her timing. questioning whether she's too late. She starts things constantly, but rarely does she finish. Not because she's lazy, but because she can't sustain focus long enough to complete what she started. She's gotten into a start stop rhythm as she jumps from idea to idea, strategy to strategy, never sticking with anything long enough to know whether it will really work for her. She says yes to things she should probably say no to because urgency is loud. And then she resents the yes. She's tired in a way that is impossible to fix with only sleep, busy in a way that doesn't feel productive. She is building, but it doesn't feel like building. It feels like striving and survival. From 2005 to 2021, that's 16 years. I lost three of the most important men in my life. It was gut wrenching. Through those years, I isolated, I hid, I lost myself in caregiving roles. I struggled with anger, disappointment, and unimaginable voids. On the other hand, though, I counseled, I coached, I helped, I served. I lived a persona of having it together and being the solid, dependable go to person for advice. This persona is really what caused me to create patterns of constant stress, which led to cycles of burnout, all heightened by compounded grief. Of course, this caused all of my business pursuits to look choppy, incomplete, and be relatively unsuccessful. I couldn't sustain any of what I was truly called to do. Often, I felt like a failure and a fraud. I thought I needed more discipline when one of the things that I actually needed was regulation. I lived for years in a body that was dysregulated. People praised me for my strength, my accomplishments, and were excited when I announced a new venture. But if they were able to get a glimpse of what was truly happening on the inside, they would have seen stress, grief, lack of clarity, exhaustion, frustration, disappointment. This was not laziness. This was survival. I was not incapable of building and launching and growing my dreams. I was dysregulated. And there is a difference. Let's talk about nervous system for a minute. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for safety or threat. And when your body perceives threat, it shifts into survival mode, right? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. For the most part, your nervous system can't tell the difference between physical danger, emotional overwhelm, financial stress, comparison spirals, burnout, uncertainty, constant pressure. To your body, all of these things are a threat, and a threat is a threat. So your system responds accordingly. And when that happens, your brain starts prioritizing survival over creativity, clarity, long term thinking, and emotional regulation. What does this mean? This means your thinking narrows, your stress hormones increase, your creativity decreases, your emotional reactivity increases, your decisions become more fear based instead of vision based. Any of this sound familiar to you? Sometimes it's so familiar with us, it just becomes the way things are. And that's where I was. And that is not a great state to build from. As I talked about in the last episode, I was about to make a panic based decision about my doctoral program because all of it felt impossible to me. I was emotionally exhausted from all that was going on in the world. My creativity was shut down while in this emotional and mentally flooded state. Writing that email to my dean and the program director that I talked about in the last episode was me trying to make a decision to quit from a dysregulated place rather than grounded clarity. I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe and could barely sit up and function. Thankfully, Dr. Patterson jumped into action and called to talk me down. Ladies, we all have something called the window of tolerance. All of us, especially those of us building businesses, dreams, and visions, need to understand this concept. Your window of tolerance is basically the space where you can function well emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's where you're able to process stress. It's where you're able to think clearly and regulate your emotions. It's where you're able to stay connected to yourself and grounded. In this place, you make thoughtful decisions and handle challenges without spiraling. But when stress, trauma, exhaustion, grief, burnout, or overwhelm push you outside of that window, you become dysregulated. That's where I was. Can you recall times in your life where this has been you? As you sit and think about that for a moment and certain memories come to mind, I want to begin shifting the picture. I want you to walk away today understanding how you can step into limitless possibilities when you're able to ground yourself. When you are regulated, your creativity returns. Not forced creativity, not content machine creativity, real creativity, the kind that flows naturally from within, the kind that emerges during walks, prayers, journaling, stillness, rest, nature, conversation, and spaciousness, life with margins. Your decisions become cleaner. You can tell the difference between urgency and alignment, fear and intuition, expansion and overextension. You're able to say no more easily when you need to. You are now creating from abundance instead of panic. You can move through slower seasons without emotionally collapsing. And all of this makes you better able to carry the vision more sustainably because you're no longer disconnected from yourself while trying to build it. If you remember from the last episode, I talked about Dr. Patterson and Dr. Richardson offering me space to pause. As I took that space and I took an intentional pause, the more grounded I became emotionally, was able to ease back into a rhythm with my schoolwork. And I even found a creative way to use art and the emotional trauma of that previous season to shift my doctoral research in a powerful way. Why? Because I was regulated. Regulation is a strength. Regulation is a superpower. It is foundational. And your nervous system is not your enemy. It has been trying to protect you. And part of this journey is learning how to help your body understand I'm safe now. I can breathe now. It's okay to slow down. I don't have to survive every moment. You can, and dare I say, you must develop a practice of self regulation to fully nurture the wholeness within you. Next week, we're going to talk about creativity, specifically why creativity requires margins, why overscheduling, overconsumption, and constant output are suffocating the very ideas you're trying to bring to life. It's going to be a good one. But before we go today, I want to leave you with this. This week, don't try to fix everything. Remember, there's no need to overhaul your life. As a matter of fact, that's usually not a good idea. Let's just notice. Begin to notice when you feel dysregulated. Begin to notice what triggers the dysregulation. What happens in your body? What happens to your creativity and your creative thinking? What happens to your decision making? Awareness is the beginning. You cannot shift what you have not named. All right, ladies, if this episode is resonating with you, I need you to do me a favor. Would you screenshot the episode wherever you listen to it and share your biggest takeaway on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you hang out the most and tag me? You can also DM me. Everyone who does this will be entered into a drawing to receive one of my hand painted notebooks. Why? Because writing, doodling, sketching, and painting are all powerful strategies to help you regulate. And this will be my thank you for you helping to share this message. Remember, sharing is caring. And sometimes just hearing someone name what you've been walking through can be life changing. Also, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, What Burnout Taught Me About Self Care, then definitely go back because these two episodes go together. Now, let's all take a moment to pause. Give yourself this space to breathe. Settle your system and your spirit. Notice anything that may be feeling tense or off. Slowly breathe into those spaces. You have permission to give yourself what your spirit, mind, and body is asking for today. Until next time, nurture the wholeness within.